It's been 154 days since we last went racing in Racecraft Rallycross, but the page has turned over to 2023. We're ready to get down and dirty once more. Hello everyone and welcome along to Racecraft TV for Racecraft Rallycross in 2023. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be alongside in the commentary booth with the one and only Dane Baird, Ryan Bauer behind the scenes controlling all the action. And Dane, Phoenix is up first. It usually lies at the end of our Racecraft Rallycross seasons, but there's no better way to get started than with a duel in a desert.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed in a way that we're not starting at Daytona like every race series should. It's like a standard. If you've got Daytona on the calendar, it goes at the front. But we're at Phoenix, which is, like you said, normally at the end, but it's one of my favorite all-time Rallycross tracks on iRacing, so I'm not really going to complain that much.
We've got two series up on the docket for you. RX2 will then be followed by the RX1, but the schedule for the two is the same. 10 races at 10 different tracks. It will take us across the world as well. Knock Hill, looking forward to seeing how that one goes. Will be my first time commentating on a proper Rallycross race there, and of course we finish off at Charlotte as well. A technical set of challenges, Dane, and most crucially, the fact is there are no opportunities for drivers to really step back and take a break from the series. We're racing for the next 10 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a very difficult period of time for the drivers because this is not easy stuff. They are short circuits, yes, but they are so difficult to get right, especially when you get to the top of RX1 with the drivers that we'd usually see competing in the World Championship Series, the like top guys in the Rallycross world. They are pixel perfect. And if you get it slightly wrong, it can make the difference for not just with a couple of tenths like you might see on the road courses. It can make a whole second's difference, especially at a circuit like Phoenix, where there's little grip strips here and there that you've just got to clip right, otherwise it can ruin your entire lap.
Yeah, here's a look at the 9-turn circuit with 54% tarmac and then about 46% dirt. So one of those that's a little bit more equally weighted across the two surfaces that drivers will have to contend with. And of course, that Joker lap, always an interesting one because it will take off about 3 seconds from your lap. And so timing that, no matter whether we're talking RX2 or RX1, is going to be important. Let's take a quick look at the points format, let you know how drivers will accumulate points, because Dane, it starts in qualifying.
Yeah, interesting. You don't normally see this in other forms of racing, but in Rallycross, because there's qualifying and then heats and straight into the feature, and it's all super high-paced action, you get points for pretty much every session that you do. We don't count the last chance qualifier because then it would be a bit weird. You might earn more points by finishing lower in the heat and then winning in your last chance qualifier. But yeah, points for qualifying, points for the heat race, and the all-important 15 points to the top for the feature as well. Really important to get a good result there.
As we mentioned, RX2 will precede RX1. This is a series with fixed setups, so drivers don't have to worry about trying to adjust their race cars to be as fast as they can. Carson McKenna, our third champion in as many seasons of Racecraft Rallycross, did win by a considerable margin in terms of points, although he took 3 victories, as did Tyler Campbell on his way to the championship. RX2 is a great place, Dane, for those who are maybe new to the Rallycross world to get involved. We're going to see some drivers who have plenty of experience in off-road trucks, not as much in these Rallycross machines.
Yeah, the off-road trucks are really, really popular, especially over the last couple of years. We had the World Championship as well last year for the first time, which was brilliant to watch. A lot of Rallycross guys going over to the trucks as well, which is really great to see. But equally, a lot of truck guys coming over to the Rallycross stuff for Racecraft Rallycross, which is always fantastic. And a lot of them pick it up quite quickly and then move their way onto RX1 as well, which is always nice to see.
Might happen midway through the season as well. Here's a look, though, at your race analysis. 5-lap heats, 5 laps for those last chance qualifiers, and then, of course, double that up for the feature when we go racing at the very end of the round for the drivers. And, of course, like we said, RX1 after that with open setups, so drivers do have that ability to work on a car just a little bit more. Of course, not much has really changed since the last time these drivers went racing, both in RX2 and RX1, so the good thing is, Dane, that they come into the season, other than with, I think, Knock Hill being a brand new track, with a lot of experience for the veterans to rely on. The rookies come in very, very fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see, even in the World Championship, when that was running, you'd see drivers that have been doing it for 3-4 seasons. They end up having setups that they're using in the 2020 season that they were using in 2018. So the cars don't change a massive amount, and they haven't changed, I think, at all in the last year or since we had the last season of Racecraft Rallycross. So especially the tracks as well, no new additions, so it's all going to be very familiar for those returning drivers.
Talk a bit about RX1 very quickly while we get ready for RX2 heat racing to begin, because of course Jacob Raffoss, our defending champion there, 6 wins in 10 rounds last season. The expectation, I'm sure, is for him to start this season off well because, Dane, he's won here the last 2 times the series has visited Phoenix.
And you say 6 out of 10 as well. I don't think he competed in a couple of rounds last season as well. So he really did have an absolutely dominant campaign. I think he was maybe wiped out of a race near the end as well. He pretty much won everything that he had a chance at winning. It was incredible performance from. Did really well on the off-road trucks as well in the World Championship too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do when he returns later on today.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how those open setup drivers get on. Qualifying just coming to a close for RX2, so we're just moments away from getting into that heat racing. Going to be quite interesting to see how these drivers get on because, of course, this is the proving grounds, if you will. This is where drivers, Dane, are looking to make that step up to RX1.
And we've seen that happen a couple times already where drivers, even mid-season, like you hinted to earlier, have decided, you know what, I'm going to move up to RX1 now, even though I'm leading the championship in RX2 by quite some distance. Halfway point of the season, I want to challenge myself a little bit more with some of the top guns in the series. So really awesome to see that happening, and it does happen quite often. So we'll see how the drivers in RX2 compare a little bit later on, maybe in a couple of weeks' time.
Getting ready to go heat racing. 3 heats on the cards in RX2. It's going to be Dylan Baldwin that picks up the first pole position of the year. He'll have Keenan Kusin alongside with Sean Winkler on the very outside, I think, of the front row. Then Matthew Lind, Evan McFarlane, and Frederick Richt will be through 6th spot with Bryden Eiler, Maxwell Slosh, Crystal King, and then James Burke rounding out the 10 cars that are getting ready to be spat out at the start here of Racecraft Rallycross. And of course, it's an interesting opening turn here, Dana. Hard right before you get onto the brakes into the right-hand hairpin.
And they're 3, possibly even 4 wide, depending on how the start goes into that kink as well. With the sausage curb on the inside, a wall on the outside, it could be messy.
So here we go, ready to start another season of Racecraft Rallycross. The RX2 drivers are locked and loaded and racing in the desert. A great start from Dylan Baldwin, who's going to get some contact immediately to the back of the field. Will go Maxwell Slosh, I believe. But through the hairpin, single file they work. Which drivers will jink left to take the Joker? Which drivers will stay on the dirt and run over the jump? At the front of the field, they're electing to take the longer lap, but a couple diving on in at the back of the field.
The top 2 heading into turn 1, I think they might have been caught out a little bit. That turn is completely flat in racing conditions, but it's not so at the beginning of the race because you have a much tighter line through there as they make their way around the last corner now. And who's that pulling out in front? The Joker here can be a little bit quicker.
It's about 3 seconds or so, the buffer there, and it's Bryden Eiler that will jump to the front initially, with Baldwin and Winkler tucked up behind. Remember, just 5 laps to work through these heats, so it's going to be fast and frenetic with the lap times being under 40 seconds, and already you can see that Dylan Baldwin does not want to be running in the dirt tracks of Bryden Eiler because he's through the Joker, back onto the gravel, and works his way back onto the track.
And the timing of the Joker lap is so crucial in Rallycross. You've got such short races. You do not want to be following someone around the track if you can at all avoid it. If you can take your Joker lap and get out into some clean space, you have to do it.
So Winkler and Kusin respond as well. Don't think Keenan Kusin got the best launch off the line initially, but his internet has relatively stabilized, been tracking his troubles on social media, stabilized enough to come and join us racing here tonight. And as it runs right now, sits just outside sits inside the transfer spots because, of course, with just 3 heats, we'll advance, I think, 3 drivers out of this first heat of the night. There is Mr. Aero HD himself, working through the dust that spits you back onto the start-finish line. And let's ride around through the first sector here, Dane, at Phoenix.
Yeah, really tight right hand to start things off. You got to slow the car right down. It's downhill as you go down the banking as well. Tricky left and right here because you've kind of got to keep it as tight to the inside as you can. Bit of tarmac on the inside there that you want to stay on, and then a flick to the left. Don't get that wrong because you see those blue barriers on the right-hand side. The car loves to fling right on the landing off the jump, and then you head into the dirt section. Really long right-hander here to end off the lap, and there are so many different lines that you can take, but you always want to get as close to this curb on the right-hand side as you can get, and then a little chicane here, and back on to start another lap. It does not stop here at Phoenix.
And of course, that final sector is going to evolve so significantly over the course of the sessions as well that drivers will have to adapt. A bit of 2 wide, 2 deep action. This in the battle for about 6th or so position. Car going very, very deep into the braking zone, and almost a contact being made just in front as they slide their way back over to the jump. It's Crystal King that we jump on board with now, but these all drivers that know they'll have to go through the last chance qualifiers while they brawl at the back It's Dylan Baldwin that's going to convert pole position to heat race #1 victory here at Phoenix. He'll lead Sean Winkler and Keenan Kusin straight to the feature, while the rest of the drivers know another 5-lap battle stands between them and a chance at making it to the feature. Great way to get the season underway here in RX2, but of course, in Rallycross action, there is never a time to truly take a break. We're already going to get ready for heat #2 as the drivers finish up in that first heat. There's confirmation of the top 3 as they finish. Baldwin, Winkler, and Kusin confirmed making their way on through. The rest of the drivers will get one more opportunity here at Phoenix. But while they watch, it's heat 2 getting ready to go racing. Let's take a look at how they're going to line up, because already I can tell my pronunciation is going to be tested just a little bit more. Paul Mikolajic in the 177 grabs second spot in qualifying. First in heat #2, Rene Wegner alongside with Brandon Slow behind Tyler Schell, Istvan Titz, and then Trevor Teal, Zach Mitchell, Ian Fisher, Daryl Young, and Jonathan Bennett, the cars getting ready to go. The lights coming up, the engines roaring, and the field spat out. Already a bit of contact. The Ford Fiesta going ping-ponging off the drivers. That was about 5th or so position. And Dane, we've had a few casualties.
Yeah, you can tell the field coming through turn 1 is significantly smaller than the field that made it out of the starting gates, and already a couple of drivers making their way to the Joker. It was a very common thing that you'll see here at Phoenix with the drivers. They get funneled into a very tight gap, especially if you're trying to take a somewhat optimal line through the first corner. So we see that a couple times already at Phoenix. We're going to see it again here tonight, and very unfortunate stuff for a couple of drivers nearer to the back of the field now. They were in the midfield, nowhere to go.
I think it was Zach Mitchell that got a monster of a launch, and then, like you say, when they funneled in, he got pinched, and unfortunately it was that bright yellow Ford Fiesta that took the biggest wallop of them all. 3 drivers have already taken to the Joker. Your leader in terms of the fastest in qualifying in the second heat in that 177 now does have Rene Wegner, who has jumped on down on this lap along with Tyler Schell. As Trevor Teal is going to be merging off and wondering where the rest of his competitors are going to end themselves up. Back onto the tarmac though, and under the gantry to finish 2 of 5 laps. And the battle at the front, the 177 versus the 77, as they maximize their way down the hill and back into the infield.
It is so tricky. Now that these drivers have both taken to the Joker, they have to try and make passes on the track, but I'm not sure if it would be massively worth it. They're already in those qualifying positions that they'll make it straight through to the feature. So if I'm them, I'm just going to say, right, unless you're holding me up, I'm going to stick behind you. But no, they're going side by side through the final corner, and it can be a tricky one, because even though you're next to the driver, you can see them next to you, they're still ahead of you when you end up coming out of the corner. It's a really difficult place to make those on-track overtakes here at Phoenix.
Great onboard look as well with the drivers. We'll get to follow along with them over the course of the season. That was your heat leader right now. Did want to say, if you were tracking an unofficial flip counter, I can say that we have at least 2 now onto the board. Zach Mitchell, unfortunately, involved in another incident that saw Daryl Young be the first car to truly go end-over-end tumbling, and so that's seen him now drop down through the order. They're fighting at the front, though, I think, as we see a couple of the cars working their way off of the Joker merge. It is Wegner that's got the advantage for a moment, but the 177 gives them a bit of a shove as they work back under the gantry to start the final lap of heat #2.
Oh, little lockup. He's gone a bit deep there into the first corner, and they are going to make the pass as well. Mikolajic, into the barriers, and he pops across the circuit. How Tyler Schell didn't slam into the back of his car, I will never know. But where's he gone? Down to 4th position there.
Just outside of a transfer spot as well. Don't think he'll have the time to be able to claw his way back up. It was one of the closer battles that you typically would see in a heat race, and unfortunately it did not work well for Mikolajic. At the front though, Rene Wegner will take the victory in heat #2, advances to the feature along with Brandon Slow and Tyler Schell. Although at the line, Mikolajic potentially just pip him. On my timing screen it indicated it did flip around for a second, but scored as Tyler Schell across the line in 3rd. Confirmation of that. Trevor Teal, Ian Fisher, Jonathan Bennett, Zach Mitchell, Daryl Young, and then Istvan Titz in the #2. The rest of the drivers that we will have to wait to see if they advance in the last chance qualifier. There's that official confirmation of Wegner, Slow, and Schell as your 3 that advanced their way on forward. The rest of the drivers know still one more opportunity to fight their way back. Heat 3 will be our final heat in RX2, and they're getting ready to go once again. Let's take a look at how they're going to line up. It's Ollie Honka and Tom Grady on the front row with Andrew Howell and Greg Johnson and Eric Whitner sharing row 2. Lining up then in 6th, it's going to be Robbie Kirtley with Trevor Royer, James Donahue, Matt Morris, and then Owen Anderson as the 10 car is getting ready to go once again. And already, fast frenetic rallycross action launching once again at Phoenix. It's a good start from the inside. Ollie Honka provisionally converts pole position to the lead. Tom Grady does go defensive, and he gets a shot from behind. 3 and 4 wide, but Grady gets it pointed back in the right direction. A car shortcuts the turn 3 complex as well, and there's another flip to add to the counter.
That is incredible. It was just a bit loose coming through the right hand, it touches the wall and over the car goes. Couple drivers over to the Joker, but Ollie Honka has just been gifted an opportunity to make it straight through to the feature here.
Yep, absolutely. Big carnage, and now a 2-second gap that he's been able to build up. May even see him take to the Joker this time by and just assure himself of a little bit more of a separation. It is good to see, by the way, Dane. We don't have a field of just Subarus. I like myself a Subaru WRX STI, but I also enjoy some Ford Fiesta and Volkswagen Beetle action.
Yeah, we normally get a couple that sort of break the mold when it comes to everybody driving Subaru, because it's what the pros used in the World Championship, just because it was their personal preference. Someone's going for the Joker.
That was Tom Grady.
Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of what happens in the Phoenix Joker. It's very narrow. It's between concrete barriers. If someone spins in the Joker, you do not have anywhere to go if you're following them, and it's blind. So you go around that corner. If there's someone there, you do not have time to react. So that is unfortunate. We'll see if we can get a replay of it.
You'll just see as well the commitment that you have on Joker entry here at Phoenix. He's set up to the right side of the track compared to the left side where drivers taking the regular lap go. And he clobbers the inside wall. And yeah, not much that you could really do in that situation. The Legion Speed Sport car does a bit of a grind on the wall.
It's smoking quite a bit as well. It's not looking like the most healthy car on the grid, but coming on to start lap number 4, Honka. Huge gap behind, really got gifted that from the start of the race and is not squandering under the pressure, really doing a good job here.
No, in the top 3, the transfer spots right now, pretty locked in, you'd have to say, with Robbie Kirtley about 9/10 in front of Andrew Howell, who has taken to the Joker. Trevor Royer has not taken to the Joker in the 0.90, but is around 3.5 seconds off of the pace of your off the back of the number 24, and so still has some ground to make up. Here comes the Joker, though, from that solid blue machine as it wraps itself right back around onto the dirt. Got to get the car rotated alongside momentarily with the Ford Fiesta that he's challenging for with the transfer spot. 1 lap to go. Maybe this battle's closer than I thought.
It's not the easiest place to go side by side through there. It tightens up quite heavily on the exit of the dirt corner, and when you're on the dirt, you don't really have the opportunity to just change direction at will. It kind of takes a bit of time for the car's momentum to allow you to do that. So it's a very tense moment there for the 2 drivers, I'm sure, but currently just about holding on for now. But out in front, brilliant heat race, a completely perfect heat race from Honka.
There was smoke in the rear view mirror, but for Ollie Honka, it did not matter. 3rd time so far today, we've seen the pole position in the heat converted to the heat victory. Honka in front of Whitner and Kirtley, who will all advance directly to the feature. But now we get ready for the mad scramble that is about to commence. The opportunities, final opportunities for drivers to make their way into the main event of the opening round of the Racecraft Rallycross RX2 2023 season, here live from the Phoenix Raceway. The Jewel in the Desert has got the heat racing done and dusted. There are your final heat results. It's going to be Royer, Howell, Morris, Donahue, Anderson, Grady, and Johnson that we see heading out in the last chance qualifier in just a handful of moments' time. With that said, though, the final 2 spots in the feature are on the line. It's another 10 cars ready to battle for 5 more laps. Let's take a look at how they're going to line up. Maxwell Solch in the 89 will be alongside with Trevor Royer, with Trevor Teal and Crystal King. Matthew Morris, row number 2. Jonathan Bennett will be back in 6th position with the 707, the 52, 33, and the 04 rounding out the 10 cars. It's already been frenetic, Dane, but by no means is it going to calm down anytime soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. We've got drivers that this is their last chance. It's called the last chance qualifier for a reason, and typically we see a little bit of let's say more boisterous action through the first couple of corners here when the drivers know this really is their last opportunity in the session.
It is time to start getting physical, I would think. Just waiting now on one more driver to make their way down to the starting grid, and we will send them out into turn number 1 once again. One final spot in the feature on the line here at Phoenix. 10 cars, one opportunity. Who will make it out with that ticket in 5 laps time? It's a great start from Trevor Teal, already to the race lead as he fires it down the inside. Another cars going up and over as they slam end over end, but at the front, Trevor Teal, Trevor Royer battling side by side.
That was huge. There were cars flipping over other cars through turn 1 there. A couple drivers into the catch fence on the outside. But let's see who's taking the Joker. A couple drivers taking the early Joker here. 5 laps again in the last chance qualifiers. We only have the 10 laps for the feature, race. But it's King and Bennett who take to the Joker and come out in front of the other drivers.
I think that's just timing, trying to catch up with what's been going on, because Trevor Teal is actually in front of Crystal King and now finally gets promoted up the timing tower on that left-hand side of your screen. Does lock up a little bit, does the 72 machine as he fires it down through the opening corners. Now the battle between 2 drivers who have taken the Joker. Trevor Royer, 3 and a bit odd seconds off of your race leader. That Joker delta being anywhere from 2.9 to 3.2 seconds. Still an opportunity for the 090 to slide his way forward. It's going to be Evan McFarlane that takes to the Joker this time around. There is the 04, and let's see where he emerges relative to the field. It's going to be just behind Royer, which I think bodes quite promisingly for the 090, but with the pressure behind Dane, he may want to take the Joker this time by.
Yeah, this is the last thing that you want if you're looking for a spot up ahead through the Joker strategy, is someone sending it up your inside into turn number 1. You want them to leave you alone, and that's a very smart move there by Royer. Probably one of wanted to hold off for a couple laps with the Joker, try and build up a bit of an advantage, but when you've got a car right on the back of your bumper, you do not want them sending it up the inside and slowing you down, more importantly. Coming out of the Joker just behind, but not an insurmountable gap there.
And crucially in front of Crystal King, so still an opportunity, and King may have made a mistake because she has dropped back about 1.5 seconds at the line compared to the top 2. As Royer may have hooked the curb a little bit more aggressively than anticipated. He now slides a couple more car lengths back. 2 laps ago as they fly over the jump. Don't really think any driver that has not taken the Joker has an opportunity to grab away the victory and the spot in the feature. It's down to this, the battle of the Trevors.
And we know that Trevor Teal is not one to make mistakes very easily. The man who weareth the pickle suit is very hard to break mentally, so Royer has his work cut out for him as they make their way onto the final lap now. And I think that gap might just be a little bit too big. Having said that, the gap closes a lot in through the first turn. It's just the dirt section where it's all going to come down to.
Yeah, with the pickle suit comes great responsibility, right? Great power, great responsibility. We got to see that on the IRX All-Stars and even the Off-Road Championship All-Stars as well. Royer's going to be able to slide to the inside, but a bit too aggressive on the contact. He will just turn himself to the inside of the course. It will allow Trevor Teal, with some aftermath contact there, to slide his way off the dirt, back onto the tarmac, and grab the victory in the first of our 2 last chance qualifiers, as that was Crystal King hard into the wall. Yeah, that is a beaten up race car, the factory SimSport entry. But ultimately, it's Trevor Teal with a smile on his face. Royer tried he did, but it was not to be here at Phoenix for round 1 of RX2. That was a big old shunt as well, but here's a look at the results. 1.5, the margin at the line after Royer had to slow down for that slowdown. Solch, Young, King, McFarlane, Anderson, Rijdijk, Morris, and Bennett. We say goodbye to them today. We'll see them next time out to go racing. Here's a look at how they'll line up for the second of our last chance qualifiers, and for Miko Lajic, an opportunity for redemption in the 177. He'll have Braden Eiler alongside Andrew Howell, Ian Fisher, James Burke, and then James Donahue make up the rest of the top 6, with Zach Mitchell, Matthew Lind, Tom Grady, Istvan Tietzen, and Greg Johnson. The 11 cars lined up in this one, Dane.
Add 1 extra car to the mix and take away 2 transfer spots. What could possibly go wrong?
We're about to find out. It's been fun already, and don't forget, we still have the feature and then RX1 to come as one final spot on the line for the RX2 main event here in Phoenix. This time from the front of the field, Miko Lajic with the best jump of them all. He'll lead them into turn 1 with no drama this time. The Ford Fiesta around the outside with James Burke able to work his way up into 3rd. A couple of puffs of smoke as they start to check on up, down through the hairpin, but a nice tidy start. Who jinks off to the left? Miko Lagic does. A handful more follow as they try and work through the opening lap here in Phoenix.
Yep, and you'll notice that nobody will follow someone else into the Joker. Kind of defeats the entire point of taking it. You want to get into some clear air, and following the driver in front of you down there is not going to make that happen. So it's going to be Isla that's going to be leading. Sorry, yeah, it's going to be Isla that leads them down for the driver that didn't take the Joker. But Mikolajczyk retaining that race lead, you'll very commonly see that the driver who's leading will take to the Joker, just because it means you're not going to have a car feed out straight in front of you.
Yeah, and there's two types of Jokers, right? There's the one that is shorter, like what we have here, shorter time-wise, and then you got the ones that are longer time-wise. I were the most significant of the shorter ones. That's 11 or 13 seconds quicker, depending on exactly who you are. But then you've got, for example, when we go to Hell Lankenbahn, and that's about 2 or 3 seconds slower on the outside of turn number 1. On board with your race leader once again, but not your race leader any longer. Miko Lagic does a bit of a hop, skip, and a jump, and the opportunity is presented for James Burke to grab the lead of the race, with Miko Lagic going straight off into the virtual heaven. Unfortunately, big drama here in last chance qualifier number 2.
How many times have we seen that exact same thing happen? I said it earlier on during one of the heat races. It's very difficult to go side by side cleanly through that part of the circuit, and those big old blue turtle curbs do not make that any easier at all. And another one up the inside, but over the turtle curbs.
That's Tom
and
Grady.
Who's that?
That's Tom Grady that was ripping the inside, but that is going to be... That's Braden. No, that's the Nitro Circus car. Is that Braden? We're learning some new paint scheme. It is Braden Eiler. Okay, there we go. So one of our drivers with World Championship experience, albeit in the world of Outlaws, at the very front of the RX2 field with 2 laps to go. And I think seemingly, as long as he runs clean, well, just as we said that, over the jump and into the tire barriers, here's the opportunity for Tom Grady to look back to the inside.
Well, I asked at the beginning of the race what could possibly go wrong. It seems like everything is going wrong for the drivers out there now. Side by side once again over this part of the circuit, that blue turtle curb waiting to end your dreams. But Isla somehow keeps it, leading into the final lap. And now it's going to go deep into turn 1 onto the grass, and it lets Grady through as well. Grady now has so much pressure, but none of that coming from the drivers behind. He's got a huge gap behind, just a dirt section now to complete, but it is so tricky over the jump, as we've seen time and time again here at Phoenix.
Well, we've gotten through the scramble to decide which cars will have the honor of fighting in the feature. Just now left to get to that feature itself. Tom Grady outlasts them all in last chance qualifier number 2. What a scramble this one was indeed, and now we have the drivers locked and loaded for the 10-lap feature that is coming up next. Say goodbye to Braden Eiler and to a handful of the other contenders. But of course, the most significant moment was when we saw Matthew Lind and Paul Mikolajczyk going side by side at the end of the opening lap. Did not end in the way that we would have wanted. There's a look at the race results. Tom Grady, like we mentioned, will line up at the very tail end of our feature grid. Say goodbye to Eiler, Tietz, Donahue, Lind, Burke, Howell, Mitchell, Mikolajczyk, and then Johnson. The 10 cars that we've got in store. I mean, Dane, take a breath, but not for very long.
Yeah, no, we're very nearly straight into the feature, and then we don't have a massive wait until we get into RX1 where we get to do this all over again. So it's going to be a very interesting feature race, 10 laps, twice as long. Still only the 1 Joker lap, but also a lot of drivers out there who now have a taste at some real good points on offer to start off their season the best way possible. So it's going to be a really good race. Hopefully they take it nice and easy for the first lap, just because we've seen a couple big incidents, especially in the turn 1. But hopefully we'll be able to see some nice clean stuff for the feature race at least.
You always start a season off with optimism, Dane. No matter if the previous year was pretty bad, you have to hope that a new page means some new storylines. For some drivers, they're now going to be watching on and starting off maybe on the back foot. For the 10 drivers in this feature, though, an opportunity to start off a championship hunt on the front foot. There are 10 rounds. There are 2 drop rounds, which drivers do have the opportunity to take advantage of, but in a format where unpredictability is going to reign supreme, you want to be as consistent as you can possibly be.
You don't want to be skipping any races either. You got the 2 drop rounds, which means that if you have to skip a round, you can, and if you have maybe a bad round, it's not going to impact your points at all. But if everyone else has a bad round, you have a great round, because it's Rallycross, it's unpredictable, like you said. You can have a round and you just suddenly win the entire thing, where you haven't even got to the feature before. So it has happened, and it does happen in Rallycross you want to be there for all 10 rounds, just in case a little bit of luck goes your way.
Let's not forget, we mentioned Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen. The one thing that's going to benefit the Subarus as we continue to work through these events, Dane, is it's a little bit faster on the more worn the track is.
Yes, that is a massive thing about all the dirt racing in iRacing, is that the track does evolve, and it does a very good job of it. But especially on the rallycross tracks, especially here at Phoenix, where it's dirt put on top of tarmac, as the dirt starts to wear away, as the drivers go over it more and more, that some of those tarmac patches start to creep up and get some grip strips, get on the racing line especially. You almost drive it like it's tarmac, just with a little bit more bumpiness. So it's a very different way of driving. You'll see the drivers practicing on fresh dirt, and also on really worn dirt, and they drive completely differently. You can shave 5 seconds off a lap time.
Well, let's see how they'll line up for the first feature of RX2 in 2023. Baldwin, Wegner, Honka, Winkler, Slough, and Whitner, the top 6, with Keenan Kusin, Tyler Schell, Robbie Kirtley, Trevor Teal, and then Tom Grady at the back of the 11-car grid. A duel in the desert, the first opportunity for drivers to get a sense for how the year is going to go, who their competitors are going to be. The engines will rise. We're ready to duel once again here in Phoenix to kick off RX2 for 2023. It's a good start from the outside of the front row. Wegner's going to cut across the nose and have a little bit of contact. He'll pirouette and drift through the opening corner, points it back straight as he gets onto the brakes for turn number 2, but it is going to be Sean Winkler that leads them through the opening corner, side by side behind, with Wegner still trying to pick up the momentum, but cleanly through the opening couple of corners, cars jink onto the Joker.
Yeah, it is a very tight part of the circuit that they go through right at the beginning, and honestly, a brilliant job to keep that one going and not hit the wall on the outside as well. Drifting through the first corner, but overheated the tires, couldn't get it going again out of turn 1, and drops back a little bit there from the front of the grid. But only a couple of drivers opted to take to the Joker on this one. We do tend to see this in the feature races. The Jokers are a little bit more spread out than in the shorter heat races.
Yeah, it's double the length, which makes it sound like it's a very long race, but 10 laps here still fly past in quicker than, what, about 8 minutes time? So yeah, it's not a long race by any means. Baldwin going to be the next to take to the Joker. Did have to, I think, slightly compromise by virtue of how he funneled out in the track position game, but he'll re-grab the race lead, albeit closer to Winkler than he would have wanted. 6/10 the margin between them as they streak across the line. In terms of those still yet to Joker, Tyler Schell is the first of those. He's only about 1.8, 1.9 seconds back now from your race leader, so the opportunity is there for him to dive left and take the shortcut and rise to the lead. He's in a bit of traffic. He may consider it sooner rather than later. Oh! As that's Baldwin on 2 wheels, and that's just going to check the pack up here, Dane, as we work back through the dirt.
Yeah, now we've got side-by-side 2 rows back as well, up at the front of the field, and that was just catching the turtle curve the wrong way. You've got to launch over it through that right-hander, or the left-hander, onto the dirt section. Winkler looking left, looking right, not going to find a way past the Subaru. It's a very wide car in front of him at the moment on a very tight bit of tarmac as they make their way through the first sector. But Winkler all over the back of him, still has 6 laps to go though.
Tyler Schell has now actually confirmed as taking his Joker. You can see that on the left side. It's only Tom Grady and Robbie Kirtley that are yet to do so, and they are at this point out of contention. Grady has taken his Joker and at best will try and get up to the 6th position. There's the 77 of Wegner with in front of him Tyler Schell having a bit of an issue. The newly crowned World of Outlaw Sprint Car Champion here on the iRacing.com platform drops backwards, albeit slightly, as we jump on board with the Legion Speed Sport 535 and ride with Tom Grady.
Heavy braking in towards turn number 1, a little bit wide for the car in front. This is going to give you some optimism, but not quite close enough to get anything done before you reach the dirt section. And this part of the track is all about survival over the jump. You want to get it straightened up, and Tom Grady did that to perfection there. Flick it to the left and then to the right. Slowing the car down for this section of track is very difficult, a little bit wide on the entry there. And then try to pick your apex for the second part as well. It is so difficult to do when the car is squaring all around you and you've got cars behind you looking for the inside. You've got a car in front of you trying to avoid. Very difficult part of the circuit.
I'm just saying, we see the windshield wipers working to clear the dirt. iRacing, of course, a lot of endurance racing fans have said they want rain to add some spice to their races. Dane, can we imagine some Rallycross, some Racecraft Rallycross with rain added to the equation? Yes, please, add that into my life.
Yes, absolutely. I've done 3 seasons of this now. I want rain in this series. That would be absolutely fantastic. I don't know how the dirt would handle the rain. That might be something quite interesting there. Might come out muddy, and maybe the lines would completely change through some of the dirt sections. It has to. But yeah, that would be an amazing thing. I've never thought about that rain and Rallycross circuit.
Highly suggest you search up Mid-Ohio Rallycross rain to find out exactly what happens when torrential downpour destroys the grass at Mid-Ohio. Oh, it was fantastic. Slip and sliding, so much fun watching all of that stuff. Gonna come around the line with 3 laps to go, this time by another car taking a bit too much of the sausage curb, and I think Rene Wegner from firing it into turn number 1 in the lead of the race, now up and on the guardrail. Unfortunately, that will be the end of his day as he slides down the timing screens. Here's a look at our replay. Up and over the jump, all tidy initially. Lands a little bit flat, and that bobbles him in a little bit more than he would have wanted. But then it's this part as he just runs himself way too much over the sausage curves. Up and over. I think we're at now 6 flips so far today.
You know it's some good racing when you have a flip counter.
I'm just saying for production next time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was my favorite part of the Chili Bowl this year. You know, sitting around waiting for them to prepare the track and then waiting to see what the flip counter was. I think we're at 6 flips to clarify, but I have not been keeping a scientific count. 2 laps ago, and at the front of the field, it is looking quite comfortable right now for Dylan Baldwin as he winds his way back over the jump. Behind Honka and Winkler, still close between the two of them as they fight over the final step of the podium, and that's the fight to focus on with 1 lap still left to go.
Yep, this is the best overtaking opportunity on the circuit. If the person in front, driver in front, makes a slight error, goes slightly deep, you can just get on the tarmac on the inside of the curb and swoop down the inside and really try and get alongside and barge your way past. It's the only way of getting past someone at this circuit if you want to do it without them making too much of an error. Onto the final lap then, 1 more opportunity for the drivers to make up some positions.
Don't think we're going to see it happen in that battle now for third because Winkler has slid about a second back from Honka. At the front though, over the jump and a little bit less dramatically than he did it on the opening lap of this feature. It is going to be the clean sweep for Dylan Baldwin. Pole position victory in his heat and then being able to convert that to victory in the heat. He'll start off the first winner in 2023 for Racecraft Rallycross in RX2 as Dylan Baldwin conquers Phoenix. Behind him, it's going to be Ollie Honka and then Sean Winkler that round off the podium. Tom Grady is going to be able to hold on to 4th position as well. But a really fun and fascinating way to start off 1 championship. And of course, we still have another left to look forward to. Final drivers come across the line. We'll grab a look at the feature results here in round 1 of 10. For the RX2 drivers, Dylan Baldwin at the line, 2 1/4 seconds clear of Ollie Honka and Sean Winkler. Good way to start off the campaign as we look to crown our 4th champion in as many seasons. Tom Grady, Robbie Kirtley, Brandon Slow, Eric Whitner, Keenan Kusin, Tyler Schell, and Trevor Teal will round out the 10 cars. With Rene Wegner, unfortunately, up and over and finishing this one in 11th spot. We'll give a couple of moments for the drivers to come and get out of the car, join us for a quick chat here, Dane, but I mean, a great way to start off the season. The first taste of Racecraft Rallycross for myself and our producer, Ryan Bauer, but as the staple, the voice, the veteran voice of this Racecraft Rallycross, how do you judge that opening round of RX2?
It was good. It was really good. We saw some awesome racing there. And the drivers seem to have figured out the Joker lap. I think that's the big thing. The last couple seasons of RX2, the drivers have sort of been taking their Joker lap like very randomly. It's made the strategy of the race very interesting to try and keep track of, but also very difficult to keep track of. But the drivers seem to have figured out exactly what they're doing in terms of the Joker strategy, which makes it even more interesting to work out exactly who's where on the circuit. And I think it's going to help them out a lot in the racing as well, which is always good to see. But I'm now really looking forward to RX1. That should be incredible.
Well, before we get to that, let's have a chat with as many of the top 3 as we can squeeze in before we go racing once again. Standing by with our race winner, Dylan Baldwin, is Dane Baird.
Well, welcome to the Racecraft TV interview room, and well, a very successful first round for you in the Racecraft Rallycross series. How did you find that?
I don't know. It just took a lot of practice with my team. I gotta thank every one of them. They helped me so much. I mean, we all just build off of each other. We find something, we share it. You know, it's it's really fun to work with them, like Evan and Matthew and just everybody, Mario. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Rallycross racing is probably the most fun I have ever had on iRacing. It is definitely in a world of its own. Speak about car choice real quick. Why the Subaru for you?
I just like I'm a gasser, you know. I always like standing on the gas and just whipping around, and the Subaru is just it's a heavy car, and you know it really allows you to put the pedal to the floor and get a lot of traction.
Well, a complete clean sweep for the first round must give you pretty good confidence heading into the rest of the season. You think you have a good chance of the championship here?
Yeah, I think so. I almost won a race Knock Hill last season, and I hit the tire barrier on lap 5, so I'm kind of out for redemption. So you know, it's just first step of the process.
Well, we'll make sure to keep an eye on you. Make sure you don't do that again in a couple of weeks' time when we do go back to Knock Hill then. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Racecraft TV booth, and congratulations on a fantastic opening round of the season. Good luck for next week as well. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, like I said, I'd like to thank my team, KES, Mario, Evan, Matthew, Christian, Adam, Robbie. You know, all they do. And like I said, the team, it's a lot of fun, and I'd like to apologize to whoever I hit in the first lap, where I thought they didn't reset the track, so I figured there was rubber there to lean on, and the next thing I know, I go in the corner and it just pushes tight, and I tried to straighten him back out, but I don't know if he did end up wrecking, but I want to apologize for that.
Well, that's fantastic of you. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you.
So from our race winner to the driver that finished on third step of the podium, Sean Winkler. Sean, you are a fixture in this RX2 series. You've been in the top 5 in every single one of the championships.
I'm trying.
With a win in every season we've had so far. So I was going to ask, how does it feel to start off the season up at the very front on the podium?
Well, you know, there's a lot of great competition out there this year, and the field was definitely stacked. So to finish here on the podium at all it feels great. It feels great. Thank you.
I mean, what do you feel about the competition level this season? Of course, we've got some new names. We've got the returning faces as well. It does seem like we're in for a pretty fun fight amongst those who show up week after week.
Yeah, I think so. Between all the guys that have been running it for a while and the new guys coming in that are getting exposed to it, I think we're going to have some great battles this season all throughout the field, up and down and up and down.
Well, looking forward to seeing you out next time at Sonoma. We'll let you go off and celebrate this third. And
thank you.
Best of luck for the rest of the season, Sean.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
A quick chat with a couple of drivers on our podium, but unfortunately that is all the time that we have for the RX2s. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments here on Racecraft TV, but don't go anywhere. We're coming back right back with RX1 in just a few moments' time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, the RX2 drivers have showed off, but now it's time for RX1 to get underway in 2023. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Racecraft TV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside with Dane Baird, Ryan Bauer, the producer behind the scenes, controlling the action and making us look good. Dane, lots of fun, of course, with the RX2 drivers. The same cars will head back onto track with some new drivers, but crucially open setups as well as we bring the level, the intensity up in RX1.
Yeah, this is where we see the real top guns of iRacing Rallycross competing in. After a very impressive performance by the RX2 guys, it's time to see what the RX1 guys can give us. And hopefully a clean turn one is on the offer, because we didn't really get massive amounts of clean turn ones in RX2. And I don't think it's the driver's fault. I think it's just the Phoenix turn one is almost impossible to go through side by side, especially if you end up 3 or even 4 wide, as we saw a couple times already today.
Let's take a quick look at the points for last season. We mentioned earlier, Jacob Rafos won 6 races out of 10. Does not mean he raced in 10 rounds of the championship. Almost double the points of Josh Fox, Josh Edmondson, and Connor Parise, who round themselves through the top 4 in the championship. 3 different champions in 3 different seasons in RX1 as well. So it's going to be mighty fascinating to see if Rafos can continue that momentum, especially given that he's won at this track the last 2 times that the series has visited here. We'll grab a look at our race analysis as well as we talk about these RX1 drivers and what they are going to be getting ready for. Not much has changed in terms of race laps and distances. 5 laps in the heats and the last chance qualifiers before we double that for the feature once again. However, the incident limit has come down from 8x to 6x. And of course, drivers do have the open setups with which they can play around. And like we mentioned earlier, Dane, that open setups is definitely something to be talking about, because when we have a track that evolves like it will over the course of the rest of the afternoon, it does mean that you need to adapt your setups as well.
Yeah, it's one of the big things that changes more in Rallycross than almost any other series is that it really does evolve. The dirt on the track surface, you can go from sliding sideways through the dirt right-hander at Phoenix for pretty much the entire way round, to if you try and slide at the dirt right-hander at the end of the lap, you grip roll near the end of the session when the track is gripped up a little bit. So you really have to adapt your driving to suit the track conditions.
Yeah, and here's a look at the venue for the opening round of the championship. Dane, I think, correctly does say it's a bit weird to see the start of a championship not be at Daytona, but Phoenix is always an interesting place to go racing. It's about 50-50 tarmac and dirt, a little bit more weighted, of course, to the tarmac, 54%. 9 turns, just under a mile in length. It's a tricky one, Dane, but I think the thing that makes it maybe slightly easier than some of the others is you go directly from tarmac to dirt and then back to the tarmac once again. There's no real mashups of the sections that you have to be worrying about.
Yeah, some circuits go tarmac, dirt, tarmac, dirt, tarmac, dirt, all over the place. And then you get some circuits that are like Charlotte, where it's almost entirely dirt, or some circuits like Iowa, where it's almost entirely tarmac. But this is a nice balance, I think. It's a really nice. Half the track is tarmac, half the track is dirt, and it's done. So it's a nice circuit like that.
Yeah, Charlotte is the most dirt heavy over the course of the season. That's going to have 59% dirt. At the other end of the spectrum, it's Iowa at 29% dirt. And of course, that's the one that has the 11 to 13 second, a faster Joker, where you basically skip basically half of the lap. All the different tracks present different challenges, Dane, and that's where knowledge and race preparation becomes so important as well. It's not just about reacting in the moment, but it's understanding the various situations and how one would react so that when you're in that situation, you know what you want to do.
Not just for the drivers, for us as commentators as well. You don't want to be in a situation like they were in the 2018 World Championship where Garrett Lowe has taken the lead of the race through the Joker lap and nobody saw it happen until 2 laps later. So it is a very tricky thing for us to work out as commentators as well. You've got to do practice laps ourselves, figure out how long is the Joker Delta and all of these things so that we know exactly what's going on. If someone's 2 seconds behind, that might put them out of contention for the win. It might mean they could still win by 9 seconds. It depends on the track. We never know.
Ready to go racing with the RX1 contenders, and it's going to be the Williams eSports driver of Josh Fox that takes pole position, stealing it away from Jacob Rafos. Garrett Maines will be alongside our 2021 series champion with Yuko Pakala, and then Marco Palacio and Steve Ange through row number 2. Zach Knowles in a hopefully pizza-adorned car will be back in 6th position with Furkan Daraglio and then Daniel Aish and Blake Reynolds rounding out the rest of our 9-car field, ready to go for the first of, again, 3 heats on the board here at Phoenix. 3 heats means 3 transfer positions as well. So the crucial spot is going to be holding on to that 3rd and final of the transfer spots, so you don't have to work through the last chance qualifiers. You can just watch and see the madness unfold. Just waiting for Garrett Maines to take to the starting grid, and as mentioned, our 2021 series champion won 2 of the races in 11 on his way to the championship. But as mentioned, you don't always need to win. Alex Bergeron took 4 wins that season, unable to get the championship. But the RX1 drivers know the championship hunt starts now at Phoenix. Away we go. It's a good start from the front row, but a better start from the Team Watson racing car behind. A bit of a checkup as a result, but Josh Flock's able to slide his way forward. Attempted up and under from Garrett Maines as the Subarus battle their way down the hill, and now side by side with Garrett Maines holding the inside. It forces Josh Fox to take to the Joker on the opening lap, but a nice tidy start at the front.
Taking 0 chances there. You're not taking it side by side around the outside of turn 2. You go straight into that Joker lap. It is the only way you're not going to lose a ton of time, and Josh Fox does the smart thing there and makes it straight into the Joker. Lovely clean Joker as well, and a nice big gap behind 2, and a couple cars separating himself and Garrett Maines. It's the ideal situation because Maines now might catch up to them and have a bit of a hard time trying to pass them.
On board we look with the Team Watson racing car of Marcos Palacio in the 5th position. He was the one that got a great start and then had to check up his momentum. Just watch the hands working as he tries to balance the car up and over the jump, and then sets it up for this final sector, always trying to think about what the car is going to do so that you can use the surfaces to make sure that you're getting the most time out of the track. See a couple more cars powering off the Joker as now it's 6th on back, yet to work their way down the shorter lap. Maines back down the inside at turn number 2, and with the elbows out will work his way forward to the race lead. You've got Pakula right behind them as well as they funnel over towards the jump, but 3 cars all in transfer positions fighting with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, up to the inside as Fox trying to find something here, sending it up the inside to the dirt right-hander. That can work out really well for you, especially through the second part of the corner now, but gets over the turtle curbs, isn't going to be able to get fully in front, but now has the inside line for turn 1, as we make our way onto the next lap, and so close between the 2 of them. The finally is going to get ahead at the apex of turn 1.
Josh Fox, someone that I usually would associate with being a little bit calm, smooth, collected under the pressure. A driver that has won at the World Championship level in 2 different series, both in the IRX, in the IRX Championship Series going all the way back to the inaugural campaign, and in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series as well. What a fun race that we had at Bark River just a couple of months ago. He has had 1 win in 3 seasons of Racecraft Rallycross. Looks to add to that total today as he looks to go 1 step better, 2nd in the championship in 2022, season number 2, the most recent edition of Racecraft Rallycross. On to the final lap though, and our 3 transfer positions looking relatively secure.
Yep, very, very good driver in the Rally Championship as well, in Dirt Rally 2.0 as well, Josh Fox. So all of the dirt series, he just loves his dirt.
He does love a little bit of dirt as well, and now has a bit more time to focus on the racing after previous World Championship campaigns were all about juggling the time. Well, he juggled the time in qualifying to the top, and Josh Fox converts pole position to heat number 1 victory, 1 step closer to achieving the perfect opening round of the championship. Behind him, Garrett Maines and Jukka Pakula. No changes in the top 5 positions as they started. So 3 cars advance, the rest 1 opportunity left through the launch charts qualifiers. It's going to be Palacio, Steve Ange, Daniel Eisch, Zach Knowles, and there are the rest of the contenders. Now let's take a look though at how they're going to line up for heat number 2. It is going to be Jacob Rafos at the very front of the field, pipped to pole position at the very dying depth. But it's going to be Joni Paloneva who will be alongside. Christian Lindo is going to be behind Jacob Rafos. Going to be interesting how they work their way into turn 1 with Bodie Cryer and Brian Sawyer on his left-hand side. Josh Clogg for Fiercely Forward, back in 6th position with Russell Peterson, Hayden Looms, and then Joshua Gaiman through the 9 cars. Ready to go once again, though. The engine's already singing in symphony here in Phoenix. A great start from our defending champion, who leads them into turn number 1. Contact from behind, and around goes Paloneva. He will get corrected by the barriers, but forced to the very back of the field. It's Christian Rafos Lindo that juggles his way up now to second, as it is going to be Jacob Rafos and then Christian Rafos off to the Joker.
Yep, cousins are the two very young men out there on the circuit, and we've seen... Yeah, well, it feels weird to say boys. That's all I'm going to say. It feels weird to say boys. That's it. Yeah, don't criticize my word choice. But absolutely fantastic start for Jacob there. It's exactly what he would have wanted to kick his campaign underway again here in 2023. Always with that almost death stare at the camera. Like, he really does not blink.
Which, to be fair, for real racers, maybe not that uncommon, given some of the stories that we've heard about the weird things that they do behind the wheel. Just look at the line that he takes as well. This is the changing track and knowing when to be on the tarmac, when to be on the dirt itself. Almost rides at 50-50 as they power themselves back off the final corner to the line once more. As it runs right now, I think Josh Clogg is going to come across the line and be credited with taking his Joker lap as he runs up in the third and final of our transfer positions. If that is the case, don't think we have really any chance of worrying about any swap arounds in anything. Although having said that, Josh Clogg not credited with taking the Joker, still finds himself 6 seconds off the back of the top two, so no chance that that's going to swap around. On board with Russell Peterson with that ultra-wide setup.
Ultra-wide setups are just cool, aren't they? They just look awesome. Just one massive monitor in front of him as he makes his way through the dirt right-hander now. Also has not taken to the Joker just yet. We'll see whereabouts he can end up once he does.
Oh, wait.
Oh!
That was Peterson and Loomis? No, sorry, that would have been... Okay, we'll have to get a replay up to try and figure it out. So that's a Volkswagen Beetle going where it's not meant to go. That's Joshua Gaiman. And unfortunately finds himself in strife, and Christian Rafos has just wrecked himself as well. So much chaos kicking up here in heat number 2, and that is a bizarre incident to really witness unfold. Don't expect a car to be hitting that part of the wall, but there's Jacob Rafos onto the final lap in the lead. Behind him, it's going to be Hayden Loomis that provisionally had second, although now Christian Lindo has managed to grab second back. As
Loomis is wrecked.
Loomis finds himself wrecked and out of this race. You can see the damage, by the way, on Christian Lindo's car. That's not fake.
So many incidents on his last couple laps.
Yeah, this is a race that I don't even know truly how you should call. But out of the final corner, our defending champion one step closer now to making it 3 on the bounce here at Phoenix as he crosses the line to take the victory in heat number 2. His cousin will emerge in second spot, albeit about 8 odd seconds behind him when the timing has stamped its mark on this race. And then Josh Clogg, after starting down in the 6th position, is going to climb his way into that final transfer spot and will line up in 5th position. No, 7th position. Always get myself confused on how the feature race grid gets calculated in the end, but there are your confirmed race results. Peterson was only 9/10 back, so pushed Clogg all the way to the very end, but Palaneva, Sawyer, Gaiman, Loomis, and Kreider amongst the cars going to the last chance qualifiers. Heat 3 up on deck, and excited to see how this one gets out and underway. It's going to be Alexander Obedi at the very tiptoe of the field, but our RX2 champion steps on up. Carson McKenna on the outside of the front row. Josh Edmondson inside of row 2 with Adam Alderton, and then Santeri Heiskanen in the number 57 car, Toby Ward, Anton Johnson, Alexander Potit, and then Joel Lewitt in the 9 cars for heat number 3. It was going so well, Dane, until it was not in heat 2.
Yeah, it's all sort of kicked off at exactly the same time. We didn't really know where to look. Hopefully we can get a little bit cleaner race here for the next heat.
Once again, the engines roar for heat 3 in RX1 at Phoenix. Great start from the inside by Josh Edmondson, who makes it 3 wide, but on the outside line, the Team Watson racing car of Carson McKenna has momentarily grabbed the lead of the race. 2 wide, then 3 wide, down through turn number 2, bit sideways there as they work their way off the corner, but it is going to be Obedi from McKenna, 1 and 2, with Heiskanen in third as they work their way onto the Joker for the very first time. They fired off the line very well and had to get it sorted in the shortest amount of time possible, but off of the Joker, Obedi leads them to the line.
All sorts of different lines being taken from the drivers as they try and sort themselves out, heading out of the dirt of right-hander and filter their way through, coming side by side as the drivers make their way from the Joker as well. But they've all sorted themselves out single file now as they make their way through this first sector. Are we going to see any more Jokers, maybe from drivers a little bit further back in the field, as almost landing on top of Eskinen in front of him? That was a very, very close call for Alderson here, who we've seen many, many times in this series. And
there was a bit of an issue in front of Alderton that I think saw him then get tagged, but you can see the look of confusion and bemusement on his face. Back at the front though, there is McKenna. Has used his Joker and is up into second. Edmondson as well has taken that shortcut and finds himself in third. So now there's no cards to be played other than going hard on track. With the top three as they qualified in this third heat, as they run right now as well. McKenna running a little bit high and wide over the jump, but able to gather it up and get it straightened out in time. But we ride with Josh Edmondson as they battle through the final corner.
And you see them try and take as much of that tarmac on the right-hand side. It's not even tarmac, it's sort of just coarser gravel with a bit more grip to it as they make their way out of the final right-hand, just to get any extra speed that they can. That little grip strip makes a massive difference when you're coming out of the final corner. No,
it really does, and that's why you see them so aggressively trying to get to that point on the track. Toby Ward in his Fiesta trying to look on past Anthony Johnson, and of course that Fiesta still has the Joker to play with, and so it will depart stage left and take the 3-second shortcut. Johnson having to correct the car in mid-air and use the pedals to adjust the attitude of the car, how much it's pointing to the heavens. Don't want to land it too square on all four wheels. It will bounce a little bit more than you were anticipating. One more lap to go though, and Ward has cycled his way up to fourth, but it's going to be just one position too short to advance directly to the feature here, Dane.
Yeah, but still proving that he is not representative of his Discord profile picture, which is the Internet Explorer logo. That is all that needs to be said about that. But Avedi doing a brilliant job out there in front, taking a lovely clean line here through the dirt right-hander, and will very gladly take a spot in the feature.
Yeah, he'll line up in third, so the inside of row number 2 with Carson McKenna, the RX2 champion, along with Josh Edmondson advancing directly as well. Leaves the last chance qualifier grids now getting calculated and coordinated with 2 more spots left in that feature. 9 drivers already locked and loaded. Let's take a look at those results for the final heat of the day. Abedi 1.5 seconds clear at the line of McKenna, with Edmondson advancing along with them as well. But let's get focused in on the last chance qualifiers, because fast frenetic rallycross action, it does not take a break for anyone. It's going to be Marcos Palacio that lines up at the very front of last chance qualifier number 1. He'll have Toby Ward for company, with Yoni Palaneva inside of row 2, with Daniel Eish and Adam Alderton alongside him. It's going to be Joshua Gaiman in that number 61 car back in 6th position, with Furkan Durago Clue in 7th spot, Anton Johnson in 8th, and then Bodie Cryer in 9th. Dane, you know how it is with names. Sometimes you read a name and you get in your head more than you should.
Yeah, I mean, I did one to the Sim Racers Asia as a championship, and we had some Thai drivers on the grid. They have got the longest names in the world.
Those are some hard ones. 1 spot in the feature on the line between 9 drivers ready to brawl for 5 more laps. It's a great start once again from the inside of row number 2. Paloneva makes it 4 wide. Smart to back out of that one. It's going to be Palacios and Alderton. That battle down off of the banking and through turn 2. Some contact opens the door potentially for the Ford Fiesta, as around goes the 31 of Paloneva. But now off to the left goes Marcos Palacio in control from the point.
Well, all I'm saying is thank goodness they backed out of that one, because that was going to be 4 wide heading through a corner where we've barely made it through 3 wide yet today, as a couple of drivers going very wide over the jump. Very easy to do, and side by side for provisional, I guess, race lead. As you look at Alderton and Ward battling it out as they were coming across the line. Palacio has gone all the way to the front though after taking to the Joker.
I think he's in a pretty good spot right now. Alderton finds himself about 4 seconds off of your race leader, with the Joker delta being between 2.9 and 3.2 seconds. Once again, we get the look on board with the race leader, as Adam Alderton has taken to the Joker on the 2nd lap of this race, trying to respond early, does not want to be hung behind those maybe slower in traffic. And where will they all merge out? Where is Alderton? Alderton emerges in the race lead. Ward right on the back of Palacio as well. It's now 3 cars fighting for 1 spot in the feature.
We've seen Alderton battling it out with some of the best in the series time and time again, so no surprise to see that he is currently out in front of this LCQ, but still plenty of time for that to change as two drivers very hungry for those feature spots. You can see how high that they get. Brilliant camera angle, and into the barriers on the outside. Those blue barriers to the death of so many races.
Now, was that self-inflicted? That jump and setting up over the jump is so important. Did he miscalculate? We'll find out here, looking at the incident up and over the... Oh, he wasn't set up to land. He was pointed towards those blue tire barriers and unfortunately was not able to correct it in midair. And just look at the damage on the number 83 machine. It means that he drops to the 5th position. But meanwhile, at the very front, Adam Alderton, now 1.3 seconds clear of Toby Ward, has a lock on the one and only transfer position. As the track continues to evolve, it would be advantage to the Subaru usually. Toby Ward doing a great job in that Fiesta to extract maximum performance out of it.
I think I and many others want to know, why do we have those blue barriers there next to the jump if it's not just for punishment and punishment only? As someone's gone off a little bit further back in its game and again has found himself stranded at that part of the circuit and has towed back to the pit lane on this final lap of the race. But those blue barriers, do they really need to be there? Do they? I don't think they do.
For our enjoyment, maybe. Maybe not for the safety of the virtual participant. We'll grab a look, though, at Adam Alderton rounding through the final corner and taking a spot in the feature. A hard-fought spot in the feature, it must be said as well. Started in 5th, will emerge victorious, gets the headset off, has one race to calm down, focus in, and then start back in 10th position when we go racing for 10 laps later on this evening. Just a little bit too short for Toby Ward in that Ford Fiesta, unable to close the margin down at the very end. It'll be Anton Johnson, 3rd in this last chance qualifier that brings up the results. Palacio Kreider, Aish, Palaneva, Gaiman, and Durakoglu in the rest of the running order. Let's grab a look then at the lineup for the second of the last chance qualifiers, where once again 9 will battle for one spot in the feature. The opportunity to line up back in 11th. Russell Peterson showed some fighting spirit in the heats. He'll be in first alongside with Steve Ange, with Alexander Petit, and then Brian Sawyer, Zach Knowles on row number 2. Santeri Heiskanen in the number 57-6 with Hayden Loomis, Blake Reynolds. The rest of those cars getting ready to battle. Don't think we're going to see Joel Blewett out there after he missed the start of his heat as well. Going to be important, as always, to get a good start. And like you pointed out with the full wide moment, Dane, sometimes you've got to know when it's better to back out of things.
Yeah, and it seems to be a game that the RX drivers play with themselves. Who can join the grid the latest? And that's what we're waiting for at the moment.
The engines will spool up for 7 drivers. Their final dance here at Phoenix. 1 driver will work his way to the feature. About even on the start on the front row. Around the outside, it's Andrews going to take a commanding lead of this race. Opportunity for Zach Knowles to grab 2nd as they funnel down off the banking and through turn 2. A spin there for Russell Peterson will drop him to the tail end. No chance of the feature for him, but it's a 7 at the front that takes the Joker and runs us down towards the line.
We're waiting for a driver to come back through the regular racing route, but nobody came, and everybody seems to have gone down towards the Joker. Age out in front, doing a great job. Knowles was one of those drivers who we've seen go from RX2 to RX1 mid-season, so a really interesting driver to keep note of here as well. 2nd place currently, having taken that Joker.
Working back through the infield. There is your race leader. Always love myself an interesting livery like this, and we get an up-close look at it, as that was Sawyer up and almost over in the Ford Fiesta, the teal machine. Not sure exactly how he was able to gather that one back up, and he gets it wrong again over the anti-cut curve. 2 wheels it, and now we'll watch behind as there's a bit of a battle across the start-finish line and on the run down in towards turn number 1. It's Heiskanen versus Petit, and they get it single-filed as they work off the banking.
One thing that you learn very quickly when commentating at Phoenix, always keep an eye on the jump, and that's exactly what we both did just then to catch Sawyer almost rolling it on the exit of the jump there. So easy to do, but it's such an action zone around the circuit. Anytime that you have the jump in your view, you've got to be paying attention, because something might just spin, and a very close moment there for our race leader. Somehow keeps hold of it seems to be the theme of this race. Almost a moment, but not quite.
Yeah, no, exactly. Heiskanen, by the way, has taken his Joker and is right on the back of your race leader now, so still a fight for that final transfer position. Here's a look at Russell Peterson. Started up at the very front, but it was through this corner that things came unstuck on the opening lap. He pirouetted off to the right, and unfortunately finds himself out of contention to make it to the feature. Back at the front, though, a second splits the top 3 cars as they'll wind up to get 1.2 kilometers left. One more lap at Phoenix, and to the inside, Heiskanen with the power move will lead, coming to 1 lap to go.
And you see why that move is so powerful up the inside into the dirt right-hander, because on the exit you've got the grip strip on the inside. If you can get onto that, you can power straight past the driver next to you. They came out of the corner side by side, and well, it's not even a contest heading into turn 1, but Ainge not doing himself any favors there either, as a little tap to the wall on the exit of turn 1, very easy to do, but it completely unsettled the car, and oh, Sawyer again!
Was it
Sawyer again on the going around the blue barriers this time, so...
Apparently the short wheelbase Fiesta does not like the jump as much as the Subaru. It is going to be with the power move. Heiskanen that works his way to the feature, powering his way around Steve Ainge in that number 7 machine. That's the type of move that you want to take yourself to the feature with. It gives you some confidence knowing that even though you're starting at the back, you have the potential to work yourself forward. 11 drivers now locked and loaded for the 10-lap feature. Let's grab a look at the results and see who we're saying goodbye to. Santeri Heiskanen, the one driver that will get the opportunity to fight in the feature, but Zach Knowles, Brian Sawyer, Steve Ainge, Hayden Loomis, Russell Peterson, Alexander Petit, Blake Reynolds, and Joel Blewett. We'll say goodbye to 2nd through 9th, and we'll welcome them at Sonoma in a week's time when we go racing once again. Maybe champagne there, maybe some wine for those in attendance and those coming out on top, but of course, one winner already here in RX2. Dane, we get ready to see if Josh Fox can break the streak of the one and only Jacob Rafoss.
It's going to take some doing, let's just put it that way. He is absolutely dominated last season, as we've said multiple times, and at Phoenix as well. But Fox looking really, really, really good, and managing to come out on top of Garrett Maines as well, which is not an easy thing to do by any means. One of the quickest drivers, obviously previous champion in the series as well. So yeah, it's going to take a lot of doing for anyone but Jacob Rafoss to end up on top here, but I think we've probably got the drivers up there to do it.
Yeah, Josh Fox has finished 2nd in the championship in 2 consecutive seasons. And again, it surprises me to some degree that he's only had the 1 win, that coming back in our first season in 2022. So I think there's a little bit of Josh Fox coming in with some intent. He wants to win, of course. And for Jacob Rafoss, the reality is, we were talking about it before we went live, this is a kid that somehow just manages to find ways to get quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah, I mean, when I first met him, he was already incredibly quick, and I thought, okay, right, definitely World Championship level, and then comes here and completely dominates, and every single time I see him, he seems to just be a 10th quicker, and I don't know how he does it. It's absolutely incredible. I think he has too much time, I think it is. He's just constantly doing laps. I think he did like 10,000 laps for a World Championship race last year or the year before. Like, he just does lap after lap after lap, and it pays off.
I did call you out for calling him a young man earlier, because as someone who was at the very young age of 28 years old commentating on people who are 13, 14, and 15, we had Jarno Leskinen, the youngest ever winner in the iRacing World Championships at, 13 years of age back in 2021.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a little bit old, Dane. I know you're getting there as well. Time for talking, though, is done. We're ready to go feature racing. 10 laps on the board here at the Phoenix Raceway. Just 6 minutes of racing. Let's see how they're going to line themselves up. Josh Fox will be at the front looking for just his 2nd feature race victory in Racecraft Rallycross. Jacob Rafoss, the defending champion, alongside Alexander Abedi in the spot that has seen the best launches over the course of the day, with Garrett Maines and Christian Lindo through the rest of row number 2. Carson McKenna lines up in 6th position, with Yuko Pakula in 7th, Josh Clogg in 8th, Josh Edmondson in 9th, and then Adam Alderton and Santeri Heiskanen. 2 cars that worked their way through from the last chance qualifiers. These are those moments where drivers settle their nerves. Championship battles begin in round number 1, but they do not finish until the final round of the championship. The momentum gets set here. The benchmark is laid down in round 1 of RX1 for 2023. And away we go. Again, a great start from the inside of row number 2, but it is going to be smart racing there from Abedi. He lets Fox challenge with Jacob Rafos as they battle through turn number 1. They're playing ping pong behind. Garrett Maines is going to lose out and drop outside of the top 5. He'll get some contact with Christian Lindo as well. Contact at the front between Josh Fox and Jacob Rafos, but both of them take to the Joker, have not lost each other too much time.
Yeah, it was a little bit of contact further back. Oh, there's a car flipping multiple times over in the jump and gets collected again. But let's keep on watching as these top 2 make their way through now. Having taken the Joker, Fox and Rafos. Well, Fox has done the first thing right. He's got ahead at the start of the race. It's now all up to Rafos to make an on-track move.
It was Carson McKenna, our RX2 champion, that went up and up and up and over and over and over, unfortunately. He made it to the feature, so that's a good sign. We'll see what he has got in store for us over the rest of the season. Rafos up and over the jumps, lands with authority and with, like you described it earlier, Dane, the death stare on his face. 6 wins in the 10 rounds of the championship that we had last season. This is the driver at the very top of his game, at the very top of this championship, and is on the hunt right now, but is out of options other than getting it done on track, with all of the top 5 now having used up their one and only Joker.
And it's not just the fact that he has to worry about trying to pass Josh Fox to the lead, he's got to worry about Garrett Maines behind as well. I mean, it is not the slowest driver that you could have chasing you. I know what it feels like. Garrett Maines chasing you is not a thing that you want when you're out on the circuit, especially not when you've got a car just in front of you as well.
Oh, they're leaning on each other through the final corner. Rafos getting to the tarmac and the looser gravel on the inside that he'll use to try and ramp off and get the run into turn 1. It's not going to happen. And across the line once more, but they're closing behind more and more. He'll fire it back down to the inside, and the Pennsylvania native Josh Fox gives him room and allows our defending champion to regain the points of the field. But Garrett Maines has used the opportunity to get closer and closer and closer. And as we get towards the halfway mark of this race, Dane, by no means is Rafos in the distance.
No, absolutely not. You've still got Fox's front quarter power up his inside as well, so he's really got to watch out. Now Rafos he's got rid of Garrett Maines behind him, but he's now got possibly even a scarier threat of Josh Fox too. Fox now looking behind and seeing Maines. Those top 3 are going to be battling until the very end of this race, that's for sure.
Yeah, Jacob Rafos, by the way, the first driver in dirt road history to hit the magic 10K number, but unlike with 10K Benica, which does not sound as fun as 10K Beneke, which is what everyone calls him, despite the fact that that's not his name. I can't think of any clever puns about 10K Rafos. 10K, I don't know. Maybe you've got something clever, Dane.
I'm not sure, but I do know that he is at the point where if he does a regular official rallycross race, he's gaining about 2 R ratings, so you can sort of figure out how many races he's had to do to get to that number.
Yeah, you could steal just a few things away from him. Now, he's from Norway, but 10K Dane sounds pretty good. 10K Norwegian does not roll off the tongue in the same ways. If you're watching on Racecraft TV, give us a nickname for our race leader, or for our defending champion. Maybe it will stick, and maybe we'll use it a little bit more frequently. Already halfway through, by the way. Next time at the line is going to be 4 to go. It's not just battles for the win, for the podium, it's the battle for 4th as well. Adam Alderton is right onto the back of Alexander Obadian. Alderton is taking full advantage of the second life that he got here, Dane, coming through the last chance qualifiers.
Yeah, and doing a brilliant job as well. Almost the only driver who was really consistently able to compete with Rafos last season. We saw those 2 go head-to-head many times. Couple times entered in controversy, and we did see that sort of rivalry build throughout the season, let's say. But in 5th position now, having started right near the back, I think he should be very happy with himself after this performance so far with 4 laps to go.
We love ourselves a bit of controversy. There's never anything controversial in Rallycross, ever.
Oh, no.
Fortunately, it's not as controversial as British GT, which, Garrett Maines getting a bit of a nervy moment there over one of those anti-cut curves. But yeah, British GT last year had drama that went to courtrooms. So it's not as, unfortunately, we're not as dramatic as gentleman racing in the UK, Dane. So we've still got some ways left to go. On board further back in the field, this is with Christian Rafos Lindo. Unfortunately, down in 10th position after the start did not go well to him. And I'm enjoying that he's not just got the sequential shifter, he's got the handbrake as well. But most drivers in this level of competition, Dane, will look to simplify their rig so they can have their hands on the wheel as much as possible.
Yeah, I always wanted to have one of these. In fact, I have Cheppy's shifter that he sold on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh,
and
well.
that's not gone quite as well as you would have hoped.
Yeah, hashtag blame Bauer for that one, for focusing in on Christian Lindo, unfortunately. Gonna throw our producer under the bus. Back to the very front of the field, though, because they're winding around to take the white flag. 1 lap to go, and they may very well have some lap traffic to contend with as well. Garrett Main's no longer really a factor, and even Josh Fox has lost a whole handful of a bunch of ground. It's 1.3 seconds at the line that splits the top 2 cars. The traffic gets out of the way. Final lap for Jacob Rafos.
He's got himself quite a nice gap, hasn't he, to the drivers behind, and it's not a massive gap though still. It looks quite nice from this rear camera, but yeah, he's still got loads and loads of pressure on him from behind, but you can see how quick these laps are. He's on the final corner already. Very little time left for anyone to make anything happen. It's purely down to him to make it through these final couple of corners cleanly. What a race.
The defending champion will come across the line to start his title defense on top with his 3rd victory in a row here at Phoenix. It's Jacob Rafos grabbing the first victory of 2023 in Racecraft Rallycross RX1. Some burnouts for style as he drifts his way around Phoenix. Josh Fox pushed him hard, but it was not to be here today. Rafos is still the man in RX1. Josh Fox, Garrett Mains, the rest of the podium, and we'll grab a look at the race results after the first round of the books goes into the history books. Rafos 1.4 clear at the line with the Williams Esports driver Josh Fox pushing Rafos as hard as he could, but even after grabbing pole and heat number 1 victory, it was not to be for the Pennsylvania native. Garrett Mains back on the podium, adding to his collection after getting top 5 in the championship at the end of our last season. Abadi in 4th, and Josh Clogg rounds out the top 5. Josh Edmondson begins with a 6th place finish with Adam Alderton and then Santeri Heiskanen, Yuko Pakala and Christian Lindo. The rest of our top 10, and unfortunately, Carson McKenna making the step up from RX2 to RX1, unfortunately, finishes down in 11th spot with a monster incident in the opening couple of laps. As always, we'll give it a couple of moments and get the drivers in for some post-race interviews here, Dane. But a great way to start off the campaign.
Yeah, it's been an absolutely fantastic first round for RX1 and RX2 earlier on as well. I cannot wait to see what we can come up with for the next couple of rounds. Still a long way to go in the season, but a couple really good starts for some drivers in this championship.
Gonna step aside for a couple of moments. We'll be back with post-race coverage here on Racecraft TV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
live on Racecraft TV for some post-race coverage as RX1 wraps up round number 1 of its 2023 campaign here from the Jewel in the Desert. Hello everyone, my name is Arjuna Kankipati alongside with Dane Baird here at Phoenix, and let's head straight down into our post-race interviews. Our race winner, Jacob Rafos, is standing by with Dane Baird.
Well, welcome to the interview room, somewhere that you haven't been for a while, but are very used to being the driver of the number 13. Back on top of the podium again, which is nice to see you. How are you doing? It's been a while. But yeah, brilliant performance from yourself there, and some good, clean racing with the guys up front as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good time coming back to the rally kind of side where I'm originally coming from, and to fight with Garrett and Josh and all those regular RX guys. So yeah, it was a pleasure.
Coming back to Phoenix, obviously a circuit that you've already won the last 2 rounds at when we come to Phoenix, and now making it 3 in a row. Is this just a circuit that you find yourself particularly acquainted to?
Yeah, I have a lot of laps here and a lot of time. I trained a lot today because I know my pace wasn't too good in terms of the start of the day, but we got it up to where you want to be.
And also, just talk to us quickly about hitting that 10K iRating number, because I think you're one of the first drivers to do that. It's a big number, much higher than most other drivers in the series. Obviously, the first person to do it from the Rallycross side of things as well. How long was the grind to get to that number?
It has been 3 years and 2,200 starts in the road, which is a lot. And
yeah,
a lot
the fact
of
that you know
hours.
that number just straight off the top of your head tells me exactly what I need to know of how long it's taken you to get to this level. Well, yeah, congratulations on this victory here, and a great start to your season. Obviously, looking to make it another championship again this season.
Yeah, maybe. It's gonna be tough. I know Tommy Mäkinen and Josh and Garrett and a lot of guys has potential to be champion this time. They're all pretty fast. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, but yeah, that's what we're aiming for.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jacob, and we look forward to seeing you next time out.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank Simagic and for bringing me all that stuff, Next Level Racing and Sim Racing AS for bringing me that, and Nitro Circus, and yeah, all those guys at the team for helping making it possible.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations on the victory there, Jacob. We will see you next time out.
And from the top step of the podium, we'll head on over down to the Williams Esports driver of Josh Fox. Josh, 2 second place championship finishes coming into this one, and after grabbing the pole position, after grabbing your heat victory, it was that opening couple of laps which saw the momentum maybe swing in the way of Jacob with a couple of aggressive moves. What was your feeling of being back in the Rallycross car to start off 2023?
Well, overall, very good to be back in the Williams Esports Subaru. Rallycross is where my bread is buttered, as they say. And anytime you can get into a competitive field with these guys, every season just seems to get bigger and bigger for Racecraft TV. So glad to be a part of it, and not the best result today, but not bad either. So take it and move on.
I think you can take some consolation, Josh, from the fact that this is the 3rd time in a row that Jacob has won here at Phoenix in the series, so it seems to be a track that he goes quite well at. Of course, this is a championship which, unlike a lot of your IRX experience where we had multiple tracks being used, or tracks being used multiple times in the season, 10 different races, 10 different tracks, how much does that make things more interesting compared to having to revisit tracks and having a base of knowledge to fall back on?
Yeah, it's really positive overall to have such a good mix. There's been a couple of new tracks that have been released, I think, since the last time the Rallycross World Championship was in, and so it's kind of the best way to get tuned up on the largest set of tracks, and certainly we'll take a lot of good lessons learned this week. I feel like Jacob definitely had a bigger gap than where I was at 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we'll take this foundation and carry it through the season.
I mean, you're going next to a track which you do have plenty of experience at as we jump on over to Sonoma. What are your hopes and what are you thinking about heading into that next week now with this race in the books?
Yeah, for me, it's all about the first turn at Sonoma. You can run the outside line to advantage, I think, most of the race until the inside comes in. So the biggest thing I'm thinking about is just when is the right time to go down and switch the line, because it can be half a second difference one lap to the next, which is all it takes sometimes.
And that all assumes that you survived the bowling alley as well. Congratulations on second, Josh. We'll see you in a week's time from Wine Country.
Yeah, thanks very much. And I just want to give a real quick shout out to Williams Esports and all the great partners that help keep this thing on the track with BenQ, Chill Blast, Fanatec, Playseat, Team Razor, and Heising Gold Pedals. And thanks to Racecraft TV too.
Josh Fox, second on the podium, and we'll make our way to the final step of the podium where Garrett Maines will jump into the broadcast booth. Garrett, good way to start off the season. Finishing on the podium here today. Does look like we're in for a pretty fun fight through the course of the season with some strong competition. How did you evaluate round number 1 from your perspective?
I came in wanting the podium, and I came out with it, so I really can't complain. I think there were a few instances throughout that race. Maybe I could have capitalized a little bit better. I made a few mistakes. I felt like every time I gained on Josh in the feature, I'd give it right back to him the next lap. But I was happy with my pace. I came into today like a second off, and I ended up gaining almost all of that. So I really can't complain. I don't think I've ever been that fast at Phoenix, so it's good to be headed back in the right direction.
I mean, you spend a lot of times in a lot of different cars, so I think one thing that we know from you is you're adaptable, but adaptability always comes with a bit of a price in that you've got to reacclimatize yourself with the cars and the tracks to some degree as well. We've got Sonoma coming up next. How do you feel about heading to that track? Very different to what we've raced here today.
Honestly, I feel about the same. I feel like it's been so long that I'm probably a little washed up there too. I never really acclimated to the Subaru, so I don't know. I don't know what the season's got in store. Hopefully I can figure it out. I think I got a better baseline to work from today. I did a lot of work to get the setup, more competitive. So, we'll see how the season goes, but hopefully we can build from that.
Yeah, you're a man who likes to drive across the different disciplines. You also like a fair few camera angles, so we're here to make an official request on the broadcast that you provide us with at least the head cam, if not a foot cam as well, and any other camera angles you'd like to provide to us.
You might have to fight the stream for that one, but if I can figure out a way, I think I've got 3 cameras right now, but they're all tied into the main PC. When I get the stream PC set up, if I can get one more camera, I will provide that to you.
I think our producer Ryan Bauer would bite your head off to get that. Congratulations on the podium. Glad to have you back in a Rallycross car, and we'll see you in Sonoma in a week's time.
I appreciate it. And I got to give a shout out to MCU Body and Linux and all the guys at Victory One. Can't wait to get the season started. I think we're going to have a good run at Daytona, so shout out to them.
Yeah, big excitement, of course, for Garrett Maines, getting ready for another World Championship year. But Dane, that brings our post-race interviews to a close. It means that we now look forward to a week's time. We'll do it for the next 9 Sundays. And next time up, of course, it's a trip over to my part of the world. We're heading to Sonoma.
Yeah, just about as far as we get away from me on this Rallycross calendar. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be there to see it. I have got some other commitments which are quite exciting, but I will be here for the rest of the season, which I cannot wait for. I think we go to Knock Hill first up when I return, so that's going to be great. Yeah, Sonoma, always a brilliant circuit. We're looking right now at what we call the bowling alley, and for good reason. I don't think it takes too much of an imagination to figure out why we call it the bowling alley, but it's always an interesting start to races at Sonoma.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, you'll be too busy getting on a plane back from somewhere in Poland. We'll just ask them to be able to broadcast on your flight, because let's be honest, you'd add entertainment for all those flying as well. You get to join us in the broadcast booth. RX2, RX1, always great to have the double header of action as well. And I think what we've seen from RX2 drivers here today, Dane, just to circle back to them very quickly, is we're in for a fun season there, but a season of a lot less chaos than I think some were expecting.
Yeah, it seems like they've got a lot cleaner over the last couple months whilst we've been between seasons, so it's always nice to see that. Did have a couple of instances, but I think that just happens at any rallycross track, and I think Sonoma's going to be no different. think some drivers will have to practice their avoidance skills when they come to the races there, but definitely some practice races in order for them to try and clean up those race starts. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. I mean, we've always loved having the RX1 and RX2 drivers with us, and packed grids, it must be said, for these first round.
Yeah, I think a bit of nerves as well for this first round of the championship. It will settle down and we'll see what the rest of the season holds in store. For now, though, it's time to say goodbye, and we'll focus back in a week's time when we go racing from Sonoma. You can catch that same time, same place here live on Racecraft TV at 4 p.m. Eastern at 1 p.m. Pacific. Before we wrap up, time to say thank you to those that make this possible, to Istvan Ballo at TrackCams22.com, providing us with our car cameras, our track cameras for today's coverage. For the team behind the scenes at Racecraft Rallycross at Racecraft TV, the likes of Trevor Teal, Zach Johnson, Ryan Bauer, Dane Baird, and myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Thank you for joining us as we get the season underway. 9 more rounds to go, 9 more exciting races left to play out, and who will emerge as a champion here in Racecraft Rallycross for 2023.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.